nice.
I guess you're loud today.
Just
That's nice. I feel like these mics, you really have to talk into them. They don't pick up. If you speak like this,
Yeah,
it doesn't.
they're very
You have to be. Yeah.
but maybe it's better if they're a bit further away, so it picks up more.
Do you think we should talk like this? It has an integrated
Maybe.
pop filter, so
Maybe.
hire me for beatbox.
I don't think people will listen for a long time if we talk like this. It's gonna
Sounds
be hard.
good. What's up?
Hey, not much. What about you?
No much, man. No much.
Nice that we chose 2 green caps today that take away the light from our face, huh?
Mine has
Big fish on it.
what?
You
It's a
ain't
blue marlin.
you into fishing, boy?
I like fishing.
Boy,
I like fishing. I love fishing.
when are we going fishing?
I don't fish at all. I'm just kidding.
Do you
I
even
d-
eat fish?
I don't.
You don't even. What do you even do? What do you even eat?
I eat beef.
Pizza?
Beef, lamb.
Beef, lamb,
Chicken
from that
sometimes.
Chinese place we went to. Oh boy.
Okay, before we started the podcast, Phil brought me to the a Chinese place last time, and I was like, just the day before, I texted him, and it was like, "Nah, I don't really want to go to."
Yeah, he
eat
texted me and
Chinese."
said, "Fuck's Chinese," and I told him, "Trust me."
I did
you're
not
gonna-
say. I didn't use those words that you just put in my mouth.
Sort of.
I said I don't want to eat Chinese tomorrow, and you said,
And I,
"Shut the fuck up, let's go." And I said, "Okay."
you were crying for 5 minutes, and we were like, "Okay."
And then we went, and it was the best beef.
Beef.
Was it a fried? No,
You ate
crispy beef.
crispy
No,
beef. Yeah. You had crispy beef, fried beef.
that was the best.
Chinese ever.
I kind of want that now, but we can't because we're not in Bern.
Yeah. Too far
I could
away.
do that now.
What? You could eat that now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course,
was
you could
really
always
good.
eat that.
What's the name of the restaurant again?
I can't spell. I can't pronounce it. Y1. Really good place. But yeah, I have a history of bringing you to good food places.
And I have a history bringing you to really shit places.
You do. Let's change that today.
Yeah.
So the next episode we'll have had lunch.
So this is
Let's see how happy I am. If I'm not happy in the next intro, you know why. But let's be happy for this one at least.
there's
Because we have some nice tea. Thank you for giving me some as well.
second time today. God
Is that
damn.
recorded? Fuck, that's recorded, eh?
We're gonna clip this.
That's the second time I'm doing this today. That's true. That's not a lie.
Paper towel.
The first time I did it, I was shaking a bottle that was open. You can imagine how that looked.
All right. For the people on YouTube. Give me the mic. I need to speak to the people. People on YouTube. Phil, for some reasons, drinks this in the morning.
Sometimes.
It's a
Not every morning.
yogurt drink with bifidus. Good
by
for
the
your
way.
gut health. Yeah, whatever. So what he did, he came here. I had gear on the table. He opened this, like peel off the aluminum like cover,
Lid, yeah.
and then starts to shake it, and it goes everywhere. So Phil
So this
doesn't.
table has a history of
Phil doesn't like my
being
table.
spilled on. That's the nicest intro we've had so far.
Yeah,
That's the most actionful intro we've had.
lots of action.
All the others are boring.
Fast and Furious.
Next time you'll have to spill something.
13. I'll spill the beans.
Spill the beans, baby. Spill the beans about today's
Should I?
episode.
Can you please keep the tea in your glass?
Oh, it's supposed to be in there?
Yeah.
And then where does it go? Straight to the mouth?
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
You could have licked it off.
I could have thought that myself.
You could have licked it off the table. Let's maybe remove the paper
That
towel.
would have been a real, huh?
Not sponsored.
So spill the beans about today's episode, maybe, Romain.
Today's episode is about crew. Is it? Yeah, it is
About choosing your career.
choosing your crew. As you know, we're both working at DPs, but sometimes for each other in particular, we work different departments. But essentially, the main work we do is DPing, cinematography. You guys you guys probably know what a cinematographer is. For those who don't and just listen to us because we have a beautiful voice, it's just the person in charge.
Many people that do that, yeah.
the person in charge of shooting stuff, making sure the image looks good, and he's also hiring his crew in the camera department, and sometimes have a word into who is getting in for the lighting department. Yeah. Sometimes. So I think today what we're going to talk about is what's important to us when we hiring crew, when we're hiring a first AC or second AC as well, but also the gaffer and the people that gonna be working with the gaffer. Sometimes,
but also on the other hand, just to go there briefly, we also both do projects like that we produce when you have to clients directly, and not just freelancing as DPs.
Yeah.
And then you of course have to hire much more crew than just your, technical department.
Exactly.
But like makeup, even actors sometimes. Really the whole crew for the whole project.
Exactly. That's when we wear our production hats, which is not this one because
that's not this hat. That's the fishing hat.
That's a fishing
Don't forget.
Hat. Yeah. So how do you can you please talk about let's talk about the camera department first. What kind of people work in the camera department? Do you know?
I'll try. I mean, it's open to the top,
but like the most common ones in what we do.
Like usually what we have on set is a camera, a DP, and then usually I think we both operate. I've never had really an operator other than if it's like a special shot.
Yeah.
And a first AC, a second AC. I don't really use DITs. Usually I just have a second AC that does that because it's enough. But depending on the project, there might be a a DIT and a VTR for Video Village. But I haven't needed that for my project so far. VTR basically takes care of Video Village and make sure there's a picture for your crew and client all the time. And DIT wrangles the data and backs up the cards and changes the cards.
Yeah. So on some, since we're talking about the DIT, DIT on some sets also has the role of processing the image on set, making sure like they can do like a first pass of color grade as well sometimes. And they're also making sure of all the technical aspects of the footage is respected. So for instance, if they make sure like the frame rate is right, the project setting is right, the exposure is right, they just like double check everything once the thing is done. So DITs are really important. Just to scale up the projects I've been working on, like at least last year, like I've never had like a dedicated DIT. I just had people like wearing two hats basically, like either second AC, DIT, or even sometimes producer DIT, or like someone just like even like sometimes not runners or like people doing this. Because we don't necessarily go into the technical aspects of things at the level I'm operating in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have of course the lighting department that's also kind of with the camera department, where you have usually a gaffer and some electricians depending on how big the project is. Usually for us it's 1 to 2 people. Like the whole lighting department is like 3 people usually. And that's pretty much it.
How do you what do you look for when picking a first AC? Because I'm assuming like at this point we both have people we usually hire for first AC. That's what's nice about the industries. Like you build relationships and like you really start to know how people work, and like you find people who work best with the way you work, and then you start to collaborate on more projects together. But let's say that you were moving somewhere else, like you didn't know anyone, you're not working in Switzerland anymore, and you had to hire out a first AC. What would be the things you would look out for in like the person to assist you?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I think the first thing you go somewhere, you try to ask people for their experience. So if they know any people that they collaborate with and can recommend, because if they recommend it, chances are they're really good. So I think you just go with the connections you have and kind of ask around. And then once you have some suggestions, I think the first thing, it really depends on, I mean, there's 2 categories. On one hand, if you have a very specific job where you need a really good first AC because the pulls are really hard and you're working with technical things that you need someone really experienced, then you would rather like lean on that side and see how much experience that person has, or even specifically with whatever gear, grip, and camera you're working. Maybe you look for that if it's very specific. And on the other hand, if it's like basic, then I think even more important, of course, some experience needs to be there, and some know-how. Otherwise, you can't really work in that department. But
can you try
then,
to be specific with like the kind of, I think, hard skills in terms of like pulling focus? Obviously, like they have to be capable of doing this without too many fuck-ups. But in terms of soft skills and like personality traits and like what do you look for?
Let me just finish
the other
one real quick, and then we can go into that. Because the other thing is just, you know, how socially how it works, like how you work with that person. Because it's nice if you have a great first AC, but if you're days with the person on set very close, then it needs to be a match also. So sometimes when it's less technical, I'd rather choose someone that I really go along with than the best AC ever, because you might not need it for certain shoots. Yeah, like a very, very, very experienced AC. Yeah. But other things, I think as a first AC, it's really important to be reliable and how do you say that? Independent. Like you have to really like think and help the DP think, so that the DP can really like let go of you know, the technical things of the camera being prepped, of, you know, like some little things that just the AC like thinks for you. And I think the most like, I used to do first AC as well. I still do sometimes for people, not a lot. But I noticed that as soon as I started working with, like at first I did first AC without really being a DP. And ever since I'm a DP, I understand better what the needs are for a DP at certain points on the shoot. So I think my experience is with other DPs, I like people that DP and AC, because it really helped me understand at what moment I need to do what that person might need. And I think other people might be the same. So, you know, reliability and independence is really important, and not having like people, because as a DP, you're going to be asked 1,000 things on the set from every department, everywhere. Talking to the director, you always need to make decisions. And if, like, you know, a first AC comes up to you and asks you for every single thing, what you want and how you want it, then you're going to lose your mind. So, you know, I think that's, to me, one of the most important things. No? What about you?
I think, like, obviously, reliability is really important. I think being a problem solver, like, kind of, like, falls into, like, what you were saying. Because like it's even though you have like, if you have the budget, you have prep days for the camera and stuff, like you're gonna have issues on set, whether like the wireless doesn't work, or like, you know, the focus motor doesn't work, like stuff like this. And as you said, like as the person in charge of the camera department, like if you're being asked questions you shouldn't be asked, it just adds up on your plate, and like it doesn't end up being like a nice shooting experience. I think, as you said, like obviously experience, reliability is really important. Problem solver. I think the relationship you build with like the person you work with as first AC is really important as well. Because like, as you said, if the person has experience DPing as well or shooting a lot, they know in advance like what you might ask or might want to do. But I think if you work a lot with the same person, even though they don't DP necessarily, or like even if they don't shoot a lot, like they will start to understand like the way you do it. And
what do you expect,
and what you expect, and how you like the camera to be set up, for instance, like how do you like the camera to be built, how you like the handles and stuff. And I think the more you work with that person, the same person, if they are technically sound and like they're nice to work with, I think building a relationship on the long term is like the best thing to do for like with like a first AC. I think something as well that I like a lot is working with ACs that have their own gear, or give me like a specific list of gear they want to work with, just because like this thing tells me, okay, they know how this works. I'm not gonna have to help them rig anything or like tell them how anything works. And if they have a list of gear they want to have on set, like preferences, it's not that we are necessarily gonna be able to provide the gear they want, but if they give like, okay, I want to work with this wireless or like this full focus unit,
monitor,
this monitor and stuff, like, you know, they know. And I think it's just like a little bit of a trick is that if someone is really technical about, because like being a first AC is like really technical, and if you have someone and after a little bit of time you talk to them and you realize they're really technical, then it's going to make it like a nicer shooting experience. Then again, on some shoots, it's okay to like have people with less experience, as you said. If you're shooting stuff on stick or like really slow dolly and stuff, like you don't have to like crazy pull focus, or if the build is not crazy, or if it's not too technical, then that's fine. But yeah, rule of thumb: technical person who's easy to work with, problem solver. I think it's the best.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And when it comes to second AC, I think most of the time, and I think it's gonna like translate to like what we're gonna say with the gaffer. Sometimes I like to have this first AC hire their second AC.
Yeah,
I think this is what makes more sense.
Because you don't really have to do too much. Like you're not really working closely with the second AC. It's then more the first AC with the second AC. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it just makes more sense because like the person who's gonna have the most interaction with the person is the first AC.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying this to say, oh, don't talk to me second AC, because this is not what I want to do, but it's just like the ease of work.
Because it's just also I would, if I'm a first AC, I'd rather have someone that I can count on and I know as a second AC than the DP providing me with it. Maybe it's not a match, maybe, you know. So it's more on that side. It's more giving the first AC the possibility to choose and to have someone that he likes to work with, instead of you choosing while you're not really, you know, working with him that closely. Yeah.
Talking about the first AC, like how far in advance prior to the shoot day and like showing up on set do you usually get in contact with them in terms of not hiring them, but like in terms of like talking about the rig? Or because like on like a lot of my shoots, I don't necessarily have the budget to have like camera days, cam preps.
I mean, you do it yourself.
I do it myself.
Yeah.
But if I'm on the bigger shoot, like I tend to have maybe like an hour extra. If there's nothing too technical, if there's something technical about a rig or anything, I'll push to have like a half day prep.
Yeah.
But if it's like a more standard, I'd say like commercial or like even interviews, but like commercials, I think like the rig is not going to change that much from one shoot to another.
100%.
So like I don't necessarily think we need prep day, but like how do you work with first ACs usually prior to the shoot?
I don't really have rigging days usually because the rigs are pretty simple. I use my camera mostly, so it's already kind of rigged.
Yeah.
Other than, like you said, you have special rigs that you need to do in advance and test in advance. Then usually I'll test it myself in advance, like early in advance, and then rig it with the first AC on like the day before for a half day, just like you said. But that's not very often that I've had to do that. And then like contacted the people like the first AC or gaffer just as early as possible. As soon as you know you need someone, maybe check the dates you have. Maybe the dates are not fixed yet. Just ask them, hey, I have this thing. You know, check with the budget, check with their rates. And then make sure they've already heard about your project. And then once it, you know, closes in on it and gets more serious, then fix the dates.
How early do you talk about like the technical aspects of the shoot with the first AC? As in technical aspects, as in which camera you're using, lenses, and also like the lens swap and like the lens changes and like the potential filters. Is it on the day of the shoot, or do you try to
it depends again on how technical it is. You know, if it's my regular package that I use, then we don't really talk about it. I just tell them what camera and lenses we're working with and talk to them about what gear they want to have, like you said. And once this is done, then we talk, you know, we usually talk on the day. I like to have a lot of, if it's possible, a lot of prep time before the shoot, like on the day. I like to be there early and having time to discuss stuff like that. Of course, stuff that is okay to discuss on the day, not that you need to decide.
What camera are we using today?
Yeah.
Choose.
How are we lighting this scene again? No, but yeah, usually it's enough to talk, you know, about details on the day.
Yeah.
Just tell them, but they've definitely heard, you know, before on a call, like what it's going to be, what we're trying to do and what we're expecting, and then it's enough on the day.
So it's on a case-by-case basis, basically.
Yeah.
Me, I think...
since not every project is the same size for me.
Exactly.
You know, there's very different... Yeah.
I think, as you said, if the rig is going to be technical, of course, we're going to try to see each other in advance, or at least talk about it in depth in advance, so they can also bring their own expertise, like if we're talking about overhead and stuff like this, or, you know, like whatever. And then I think I try to be, as you said, like as clear as possible in terms of like what lenses that we're using. If we do rentals, in terms of lenses, I like to actually test them myself prior, or with the AC if there is budget for this, just because you want to make sure like it's shimmed properly and stuff like this. But like most of the time with the packages we use, like we're kind of used to it, and there's no really bad surprises. With the rentals around here as well, like we kind of know what lenses work and what lenses don't work.
Because we've used them a lot.
Yeah, so that works. But
Yeah,
other than that, I think like showing up as early as possible with the first AC just gives you like this little bit of like
just also starting the day chill. I don't want to start a day and already be kind of stressed.
Yeah,
I'd rather get up half an hour earlier and just be more relaxed, having time for a coffee or something, than like,
for sure. And like now we're talking about first AC, second AC. What about the gaffing, like the lighting department? How do you? Because on some projects that I've worked on last year, the lighting department was hired by the agency, so I just was in touch with the gaffer, but I didn't have a word to say as in who was coming or not. And on the few projects, they were asking, do you have preferences in terms of like who's coming for first AC, of course, but like for the whose gaffer do you want to come on as well? In the case where you have the ability to like actually ask for someone in particular, what do you also look for in the gaffer?
Well, I think there it's much more you have to, especially, I mean, for me, there it's much more, about also kind of understanding each other's style, because it's more a collaborative, also creative process than with the first AC. It's much more technical. With the gaffer, it's much more like understanding your style and, if that matches and if you understand each other concerning this. I think that's a bigger part. And then also, again, socially, if it's a match, if we work well together, if you understand each other. There, I think the first one is what I said first, and then secondly, definitely, as soon as that is like, we match, we understand each other. It's a big part is just having being able to communicate and understand each other. Yeah, I think these are the two biggest. And then of course, experience always plays a role, but that's also like with our projects that have a big span of like smaller projects, bigger budgets. It really depends, sometimes if you have like all the money, then you can, it doesn't really happen that often, but then you can choose really like someone really experienced. And sometimes you just have to like go with your budget and then find within that budget, find someone that
would fit
your.
It's crazy how sorry, I'm like kind of like going away, but like as you progress in the projects you work on and as you work on like bigger and bigger projects, it's crazy how the relationship starts to become more important than like the technical skills, because like at some point everybody's technical skills is like good enough. It's closer. The gap is not as big as when you start. And when you start, it's more like, oh, I know this guy who has like this light, so we have to get him. But now it's more like, since we have bigger budgets and stuff, it's more like, I like the way this guy works. I like the way he operates and stuff.
Because he's going to be able to light.
Exactly.
For sure.
So get him, and then we hire out like the lights and stuff. Exactly. And that's crazy how like, even for like, I think DPs or like whoever, it's more like relationship and like style based as opposed to like the technical aspects of things.
It's going to be a relationship a lot. And also like, a lot of people I know, they grew together. Yeah. They've shot together maybe out of film school, and then they got out of film school and did their project together, and they kind of grew thanks to each other also. Yeah.
But that's nice though.
That's nice though, yeah. And I think that's also something that's really hard once you grow, and then you have like the possibilities with these bigger projects to get anyone you want. Yeah. And I hear a lot of stories where people like support each other, and then one person kind of makes it into the bigger projects and has these big projects, and either they bring everyone on and are like true and loyal to them, or they're like, bro, I don't have the money for anything. Yeah. I can get these other people, so I forget about you. Yeah. And that's, I think, a really hard part for, like, what do you do? And I think a lot of people, I know a lot of people that got really pissed, with them investing in other people and then just being left.
Yeah. I don't think really hard. I think it's hard, but I don't think you'll ever be really disappointed by, like, sharing a lot and, like, building relationships and trying to make these relationships work. Because at the end of the day, if like someone just ditch you and like go somewhere else, then it's not your fault. It's just like
no, of course not. But it still feels like
shit.
You know?
It feels shit, but you don't have anything.
You didn't really lose anything because you still got your way a bit.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, I think being nice and having a good attitude and like not trying to screw people over is, even though like this is a business we're in and like there's money involved and like there is like, like livelihood and stuff. I think trying not to screw people over at the end, on the long run, is going to be more beneficial than just like fucking someone over on this project.
Always.
Because
if you fuck someone over, it's always a bad thing.
Yeah. And like you're always gonna meet like the same person like 3 times in your life or whatever, and like you never know what these people are gonna be. And I think it's just like being a nice person. And I think this goes back to like when we try to hire out people, it's based on the personality as well. Skills obviously, but at some point I would say like the skills kind of like even out for everyone. Some are better and stuff, but like for the project it works.
Yeah, there might be some very specific things you need, and then you'll get that person. But in general, you'll work with that one or 2-3 people that you're close with, and then you understand.
If we go back to the gaffer question, like what I do usually is that for depending on the project, gaffers, you can get them. I like them to hire their team.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because
they like to
hire
their team.
They know how to work with the team, and like since I'm not gonna interact with the team as much, not interacting in the sense I'm not gonna talk to them, but like I'm not gonna work directly with them. Like it's nicer for them to hire. And depending on the technicality of the shoot as well, sometimes some people offer packages that are more interesting depending on the project. Sometimes you can just hire out all the stuff, but like sometimes it's nicer to just hire someone with a van with everything and you don't have to think about it. So it really depends on the project. But yeah, I think it goes to everybody who works on set. Your attitude is more important than the skills you have to some extent.
The skills need to be there.
Yeah.
To just get on that job.
Yeah.
Then what brings you further and connects you to more people is your attitude and your way of working.
Yeah. Don't be a prima donna. Don't be a diva. Don't be hard to work with and be nice.
Because you can make the nicest light. If you're a pain to work with,
you're not gonna get hired.
You're not gonna be hired very much.
No. And leave your ego at the door, I think. And I've heard like horror stories on like film sets where like the ego was like way too prevalent. I don't know how to say it. Like prominent, yeah. In the work set, and it made the whole shooting experience like terrible. So I think like leaving the ego and just like trying to understand that everybody is like pulling on the same rope to like go to to produce the best outcome possible. Yeah. And then that's it.
No, absolutely.
But I feel like for crew,
that goes for every single position. Doesn't matter really.
Usually crew works that way, and like all the technical departments. Sometimes agencies like not on the same level of production agencies. Sometimes they could be nicer. Like I've had like agencies that are not like the nicest people to work with, just because they're stressed. The client is here and they don't necessarily understand the technical aspects and why we do stuff. So they always ask questions. They're pissed because we like run late and stuff. But I think for crew, like
it's always when it's about the money, for them, like time is money, and having to balance that. Yeah. Always makes it harder to, be nice and, balance that, being like pushy and trying to get this thing over with in the best manner possible, in the best timing possible, and still being friendly and understanding. It's definitely not easy.
It's hard, but
I figure.
Anyways, that's about it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add when talking about crew?
No, like everyone always says, just be nice and be.
Don't be an asshole.
Be nice to work with. That's the first, your skills need to be at a certain level, but after that, it's just
the skills you'll get there eventually. Like it doesn't.
That's definitely
I think it's not be nice. It's like don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Because you can be like under the weather or like having in a bad mood, but like if you know why you're there, like if you do the work you do, and like it's okay if you don't joke with everyone. It's just like,
Yeah,
don't be an
course,
asshole.
You can be neutral basically, but
yeah.
don't be easy to work with.
Yeah. What's the difference between, like, since we're talking about crew, and I think this might be an episode between the differences, for talking about the differences between like French part and German part of Switzerland, because as you know, Phil is from the German part, and moi, I'm from the French part. What are the differences? Because I think in terms of crew, the differences are very noticeable when you're on set.
What? Like what?
I think and there's nothing, I don't want to be racist or anything.
Now you're stepping on
No,
toes, huh?
there's nothing bad. Like, I think the Swiss-German cruise, not the ships though.
Cruises.
Now, the Swiss-German people who work on set are usually a lot more, I don't want to say necessarily professional, but focused.
It's not professional.
Focused and not, I don't know how to say it nicely though. I don't want to say uptight because it's not uptight. I don't want to say focused because this is the French.
It doesn't have to do with focus, I think.
I think it's more, they're not joking around as much as the French ones.
Yeah.
And there's nothing bad about either. But
I think both sides can learn from the other.
Exactly.
A lot. Because the Swiss-German part, it's much more strict. It's much more, tight. It's much more, we are here on a professional level. We are here to do something.
Yeah.
And I think the French part is just more that, like, the culture altogether, not just in filmmaking, is just much more laid back and kind of takes things with a bit more, humor, a bit more, hey, if something doesn't happen the way it needs to, sometimes it does. It's okay.
Yeah.
And you really notice that with the vibe on set, for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes that bites in the ass of the French part, because if you just would have, punched in there the last few minutes, you might have gotten that shot. But then on the other hand, the Swiss part can learn a lot about the French part, because sometimes it's just way too serious and way too strict. And sometimes, like, it's life. You can enjoy a part of it sometimes. Yeah. So it's both.
I would say though, like, I think I like working with the Swiss German more, just because if you find the good people, the vibe is gonna still be there on set. But really, like, I think, I don't want to say professionalism, but just like,
and it's really hard to
it's hard
to
yeah. But I think I think shit are gonna get done more efficiently and quicker than with the French crew, like Swiss French crew,
because everybody takes it a tad more serious,
exactly,
a tad more,
and it's more like small things.
Yeah.
But I think I like working with Swiss German crew better. Yeah.
But honestly, it's a balance. I wouldn't be able to say, like, I like this more than that, because I think a good mix is really healthy. And I like on our sets, usually when we work together, there's a good mix, because I usually bring Swiss German people.
And I don't give a fuck about nothing.
French people.
Show up late. What's a cold shit? It's a cold shit. I don't know.
No, but I love that balance, because, then you have kind of both sides, and both kind of see the other side and maybe take away something from them. And
that's
usually a good mix.
We're lucky because we live like in kind of like central Switzerland. So that's like
right in between.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Best of both worlds.
But this could be an episode we're talking about differences and give examples of, like, the shit we done without naming anyone, because like people will get offended.
We might have to find a better way to.
It's really hard. It's really hard to phrase it, no?
Yeah, but because I don't think it's very clear what it is. It's just a cultural difference.
And there's no negatives.
No,
like
really, it isn't.
Either ends.
Both sides have pros and cons with their way of working.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful way to end this episode.
All right, now
it's okay how you are.
Be who you are.
Pros and cons.
Be who you are.
Be open. See what the other side does,
yeah.
and try to reflect on your way of work and maybe improve from how other people do things. This is way too shit.
Tearing up.
Okay. Goodbye.
Hey, Anjo, just one thing.
What?
If you watch this on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. If you're on Spotify, give us 5 stars. If you want to give us 1 star, just don't
do it.
And then
it's okay if you want that, but just don't do it.
Follow us on Instagram. at Clap That Slate podcast or whatever our handle is. It's in the description down below. If you don't watch it on Spotify, you can watch it everywhere. So
everywhere you want.
That's fine.
Everywhere it's online. Goodbye.
12:20. Let's go eat.
Bye-bye.